the first thing I want to do is just clean any grease and oil that might have got on. There's still some grease here from where we put the axle in. There's a little bit on the back plate here. So what I've got is this brake cleaner. We'll just use a little bit of that. We don't need a lot. It's quite potent stuff, which is why I put the gloves on. And you want to have a tray underneath to catch any drip, because it will obviously drip down. So we'll just brush this on. It's good stuff. It does get grease and stuff off, and it leaves a nice clean finish. Literally just dries away, which is pretty cool. Now, obviously, we don't want any grease or oil inside the brakes, because if we get oil on the brake pad, so the braking surface, then obviously it glazes and it makes the brakes very inefficient or very ineffective. So this needs to be dry and free of any oils or grease that might work their way out onto the brake pads. I think that's probably going to be okay. Can't see any more. Right, that'll do. Just get some paper towel and give it a while. You do have to be careful with this stuff. It does, it will remove paint if you leave it. If you leave something lying in it, something that's painted, you leave it lying in the liquid, it will actually remove the paint. In this instance, we don't actually want it to do that, so we'll just dry off any excess. But it does, it evaporates pretty quickly. You can see here, it's already dry. So it's really just about getting the excess off, which I think is done. Right, we'll move that out of the way and let's get going. Now, brake pads. Let me show you what I've done. So you'll recall, or rather if you've been following along all the way through, you'll know that when we took these off, they really weren't in too bad a condition. And you can see, I hope the camera will show it, but look, they obviously are worn. You can see this side is thicker than this side, so they obviously have been on the tractor for a while, but they're in good shape. And if you look here, again, I hope the camera will pick it up, but there's plenty of meat above the rivets all the way across here. So I'm comfortable that they still have some life left in them. I probably will replace them in the not too distant future, but for now and for the sake of the video, we're going to go ahead and reuse them. All I've done on the surface is I've wire brushed them in this direction, and then with a rough sandpaper, I think it was a 40 grit, just a very light rubbing this way, primarily just to get the glaze off and any other dirt that might have been on it. You'll see that I haven't gone mad with it. There's still a little bit in the middle here. Really, I just wanted to get the main material showing. Now, obviously, as the brakes are used, then that'll wear down and smooth out, and hopefully everything will be okay. But for now, as I say, I'm happy that these are usable, and we're going to reuse them. Now, what you'll notice is you've got a stud in the middle here, and you've actually got two studs over here. Now, these two studs they basically hold the shoe. When the shoe is on, they hold it a certain distance from the back plate. I've not messed with those, and I'm not going to, but I stand to be corrected, but I believe you can actually adjust those to get your shoe to run more true in the drum. Again, I don't know if the camera is going to pick it up on here, but what I can tell is it does seem to have been wearing more on this outer edge than on this inner edge, which suggests to me that they are kind of lying backwards a little bit, meaning that potentially these studs need to come out. However, when I took them off, I didn't mark which shoe had come off of which side, or even which side of the tractor. So trying to adjust them now based on that it's just not possible. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put these back. We're going to, obviously once we get the tractor running, we'll run it for a little bit. This will obviously then wear in a certain way. We'll take them off, we'll mark them, we'll measure, and we'll work out whether and how these studs need to be adjusted in order for the shoe to sit more true to the drum, if that makes sense. But for today, we're just going to pop these back on. Now, the basic thing is you want to get that over that round dog there. You can see that's an elongated hole, so the shoe kind of works like that. There's a washer and a nut that goes on here, that'll be the next thing we put on, or the first thing we put on, just to hold it in place. Now I've got all my bits here which we've cleaned. Let's get them out of the bag. So we've got a big washer, it goes over there, and then a nut. And for now, we're just going to put that on loosely, just to hold the pad roughly in place. Right, that'll do for now. Get the bottom one on, same way. And these nuts are some kind of locking nut, and they are actually quite stiff. So you have to use a bit of force to get them on, but once they're on, they stay on, which is a good thing. Okay, that'll do for now. Okay. Now you see, this is the thing that I wasn't sure of. You know, does that need to go? I think that needs to go back a bit. It will engage the pad there, but it feels to me like that should probably go back a bit, especially when you put this plate on. Oh, you hear the wind. Goodness gracious. Blowing a gale out there. You see, now that it's actually holding this plate back. So we know that that definitely needs to go back a bit. So I'm going to give that a light tap, and that should push the whole shaft back. Let's get rid of the grease on my hammer. Okay, that's right back now. But it's still moving freely, which is good. we'll get that plate on there that goes over the two circular bits like that, and these washers go over, I think they go over there as well. Okay, I brought the camera in a little bit closer so hopefully you can see better, but essentially this washer has to go over there, and once it's over, then a spring goes over or sits on there, back onto this pad over here, and one there and there. I think the easiest way to get this washer on is going to be to knock it on with a socket, like that, and same again here. Like that. Now, these springs go in there, and then that onto there, and then of course one from there to there. But more importantly, before we do that, we need to get the adjuster in, and then there's another spring that sits in the back, holding the back of the shoes together. Now, I've cleaned this up. You can see that's nice and smooth. Now, before we put that together, I'm going to put some Never Seas on there. Let me just grab it quickly. Because this is one thing that you do not want to ever seize. So we'll put some Never Seas on it, and hopefully it won't. Okay. Now this one is a left-hand thread, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think the other one's a right-hand thread. Seems to have gone a little bit stiff. Let's just take it out again. Get a little bit more of this onto the threads. There we go. Okay, that's all the way in. Now that's going to go this way. Oh, hang on. We need the other. Should have been doing this one as well. Yeah, so one's a left-hand thread, the other's a right-hand thread, obviously, so that when you turn the middle, they both expand or contract together. So we'll get that one on. Now this is the only place I think that I'm going to put grease or any kind of lubricant in here. As I said earlier, you want to keep this area as dry as possible. And but we'll do these because these are the bits that, well, this is the bit that you want to be able to move easily to adjust the brakes. And because it's that most of the time this thread is enclosed inside this brass housing, should be fine, right? I know some people do like to put a small amount of grease behind this washer. I don't. And you might put a little bit on the face of this dog if you want. I'm not doing it for now. As I said, for now, I just want to, this is just for the benefit of the video, I wanted to just get this all put together, and then we will probably replace these pads once the tractor's up and running, and it's been running for a few weeks. Oh no, I can't get this loose. Wrong way. There we go. Now what I like to do is, if you see, hopefully you can see this, I like to open it 1-2 turns away from closed, if you see what I mean. Anyway, we're going to have to adjust it to the, so that's there, so we go 1 and 2. So we're going to have to adjust it later anyway, but for now, we'll just get this lined up. Okay. There we go. So now it's sitting this. I hope you can see this. Let me just bring the camera a bit closer. So looking at it from this side, this brass disc has to run inside this new aligner that we installed. That needs to be engaged. These teeth need to be engaged with those teeth at the back there. That slotted end of the nut needs to sit. The brake shoe sits inside there, and the same here. Now you'll see this is a bit low at the moment, but obviously as everything goes back together, that will line up, and we'll make sure when we put the spring in here that that's all sitting in there nice and true. Right, so let's do that. Let's get the springs on. Right, now there are special tools you can buy to help you put these springs on and indeed to take them off. I don't have any, so I'm going to show you my way. It's worked for me for years, but I imagine using those tools is easier. So if you can get a set of those tools, then please do. But this is the way I do it. Okay. Right, so that one's there. And that adjuster is in place. Now these are much more difficult. Obviously it's a much stronger spring, but essentially you have to get it over that. I'm going to use a big screwdriver. And please do wear safety goggles when you're doing this. There you go, that one's on. Don't know if you saw that spark, but that was a little bit entertaining. And then we do this one. There we go. Now you see that isn't, to me, that's not sitting 100% right. And I think, or I know what's going on there, is that this washer is dropped down and it's actually preventing that spring from going in. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to try and lever that washer up a bit. And that should allow that spring to go in a little bit more. There we go. That one's sitting in nicely. We'll just give it a tap. There we go. So those are now in. We need to tighten these. And when I say tighten, you just want to, basically they just want to be holding the shoe in place. We don't want them so tight that the shoe can't move. There we go. So we've got a little bit of movement behind that washer. We want to just take that movement up. Which is there, and then what I'll do is come back one flat. Okay, so we're just literally on the edge. And this one's quite a bit looser, so we'll tighten that up. Okay, that's now tight. We'll come back one flat. There you go. So that pad can now move, but it's also being held nicely in place. Right, now the next job is to put the drum on. We just check everything, make sure that all the springs are in properly, that nothing's loose. We'll give the pads a final wipe just to make sure we haven't got anything on them. And then we lift the drum on. Now, with the drum, you know that we've got these large screws that hold the drum in place. We need to align those with these two holes here. So what I like to do is to put the axle, turn the axle so that holes are north and south or east and west, whichever you prefer. And then you know roughly where you are. Now, it might take a bit of cajoling because obviously your pads are not 100% aligned. Okay. Now I'm a bit concerned because that shouldn't be that tight with that adjuster adjusted so far down. So that's the end of part 2. Join us for part 3 where we get the shoes set properly, positioned properly, and the drum on, refitted, and then we also set the brakes, at least for the preliminary set, which is as far as we can go until we put the wheels back on. Look forward to seeing you in part 3.